Hi, and welcome to the East Ward Update. I'm Derwin Montgomery, Council Member of the East Ward. On today's show, I'll be speaking with Richie Brooks, the Director of Community and Business Development Department, as well as Bruce Bailiff, a Code Enforcement Project Supervisor. But first, I'd like to introduce Richie Brooks as we discuss the department's programs, including business and housing development. Mr. Brooks, won't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do for the city of Winston-Salem?
Good morning, Council Member. As Director of the Department of Community and Business Development, I oversee an area that provides financial assistance to facilitate the development of new housing construction and housing rehabilitation for existing houses throughout the city. We also have a business development department where we work with small businesses and minority-owned businesses to assist them in the development of their business. And we also work with neighborhood groups in their organization and trying to help build their capacity to work with city government on improvement efforts throughout their community. So those principally are the areas that the department focuses on.
So you have a large responsibility here in the city.
It's somewhat large.
Well, just looking at a lot of things that fall under the purview of your department, one area, as you mentioned, the business development area. Can you tell just a little bit about some of the things that may be happening, going on currently, that your department has been working on, particularly some of the things in the East Ward?
Yes, we have a number of exciting initiatives that we are in the process of developing in the East Ward. One is a commercial listing service. At your request, we developed a commercial listing service to advertise existing buildings that are located on major thoroughfares throughout the ward. Martin Luther King, 311, Business, I think it's 5th Street, and a few other areas that are considered to be the major thoroughfares. And we will have those businesses on a website at the department, and we are encouraging and working with local realtors to help market those businesses to try to bring in new development in the East Ward. So that could be anywhere from selling and starting a business or leasing a business. And through that process, we will pay the realtors a fee of up to $1,000 for their efforts in doing that. We also will work with local community development corporations in that same manner. So if there are vacant buildings that are available for development, they will market those properties, and hopefully we can bring in some new businesses in the East Ward area.
So for instance, if anyone is familiar, we know that on Martin Luther King and New Walkertown Road, that there's a new CVS there on the corner.
Correct.
And so the old space where the CVS was is currently vacant. So if there was a realtor or one of the community development corporations was able to go out and solicit a new business to come into and fill that space in cooperation with the ownership of that property, there'd be some incentive for them to do that. There'll be some extra dollars that would be able to be put towards that, particularly from the city paid some side of commission to them for helping in that process.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay.
We also have started a business competition plan as part of the business training program that we have operated in the city now for the past 10 or 15 years. The business competition plan was added this year for principally those individuals that were participants of the business plan, but it's also open to any citizen that is interested in participating. We had a period where the program was advertised. We had 44 individuals that responded, and out of that 44, we have selected 18 to move to the next phase. And there will be a committee that will review these business plans, and the winner will be awarded a $5,000 grant to help with the development of that business that they are planning in the East Ward area. There are also a few other incentives that we'll provide for that winter. But we think this is an excellent opportunity to get other folks involved in that whole process of trying to improve the East Ward area and helping to bring in businesses that hopefully can start to employ other individuals and increase just the awareness of the area to help with the overall improvement.
Right, and I think that particularly the business plan competition is one that I think helps individuals in the community because as we both know that one of the biggest boundaries for individuals going into business is access to startup capital. That you can have the greatest idea in the world, but if you don't have the financial stability to make it what it needs to be, it stays as an idea rather than something that can be actualized and seen and become tangible. And so I think this program will be great, and I'm looking forward to seeing who comes out on top in this and hopefully see that business prosper very well. And as you see, as we help work with the small businesses in this same way, there's also things that the city does, particularly for larger housing development projects. I know that the city's played a great role in the development of the Goler area and working in collaboration with the Goler CDC, and there's still some work going on in that area now. Would you like to talk a little bit about what those things are happening on that end?
Sure. There are a couple initiatives that are currently underway within that Goler target area. The first is the city has participated with Mud Pies in the development of a new child care center at the corner of Chestnut and Patterson Avenue. Large vacant tract of land. The building is currently under construction, and the organization received a $2 million investment, private investment, and with your assistance, City Council has approved up to $300,000 to be invested in that project that we think will be a very good added attraction to that whole Goler development. In addition to that, immediately adjacent to Mud Pies, a developer in conjunction with the Goler Community Development Corporation has just submitted a tax credit application to build some apartment units right there on that corner. I think it will be a combination of 1 and 2 bedroom units available to individuals below 60% of median income. So we're very encouraged by the development that's there, because if you look right across the street, Goler has completed several townhome units right there on that corner that we believe has helped to increase the whole landscape of that immediate area.
All right, and you know, we talk about the opportunities that we have for the small businesses, the opportunities we have in these type of housing projects and developments that I think Goler is a prime example of some of the successes that the city's been able to do in the public-private partnerships there. But there's also things that are available particularly for individual homeowners and individuals as they look at single-family housing and wanting to rehab these houses, even if it's for their own use or for other uses. Could you talk a little bit about that program that the city has?
Sure. We have a housing rehabilitation program that's funded through the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and in that program, individuals can receive financial and technical assistance to help in the repair of their existing homes. That program we've operated now for the past 25 years. Individuals can receive up to $45,000 to assist with major repairs, roof repair, plumbing, electrical, and the primary purpose is to abate any code violations that are currently present in the home and to help make what we call property improvements, general property improvements. So far this year, we've expended approximately $190,000 in the East Ward area with our housing rehabilitation program, and we're constantly marketing that program throughout the area. In addition to that major housing rehabilitation, we have programs that will assist in what we call emergency repairs. Those are repairs that don't require total rehab, but an individual may have a problem in their home that would cause them otherwise to have to move out. It could just be a leaky roof or a heating system that's not operable, especially in the wintertime. We can provide funds to help make those emergency repairs to help them stay in that house so they don't have to move out. We were also fortunate the past 3 years to have received a grant from the Department of Housing and Urban Development to abate lead abatement in homes, because lead has been a very big hazard, particularly with kids under the age of 6 in houses built before 1978. So that program was very successful. The first grant ended March of this year. Yes, March of this year. And we submitted another application in February, and we're very prayerful that we will be awarded another $3 million grant to continue that program.
Right, and I think it has been a great program, and I know that some of that funding is going to be contingent upon what we see happening on the federal level and those funds coming down. So I think that we've seen some great success in that program and other things. So look forward to being able to see the impact that we can continue to have here locally in our local neighborhoods and communities. As we start to wrap up a little bit, there's some other things I want to just let you expound a little bit on. I know we are planning and having some things going on in the near future in the community there with some Community and Health Day fair that's going to be taking place. Would you talk a little bit about that as well?
Sure. On April the 27th of this year, we're planning an East Ward Community Day and Children's Health Fair. That's in conjunction with yourself and your ward and Alpha and Omega Family Institute. The health fair will be primarily for children. We hope to have dentists and other healthcare practitioners out. There will be different nonprofit organizations there to provide information on the services that they provide. We will have food and games, and we hope to have just a host of services that the entire community will be able to benefit from. One in particular will be our police department. They will be there to mingle with citizens, just to talk about the services they provide in the area, and to give citizens an opportunity to become more familiar with the officers that patrol the area. That, along with the health fair, we believe will be a great push for the East Ward, and we're looking forward to all of the children in the area and also their parents coming out to participate in that event.
Well, I think it's going to be a great event. You mentioned one of the great things I think will come from that, particularly our police department. One thing I've always talked about is wanting to have our officers mingle with individual citizens outside of enforcement activity, and I think this will be one of those opportunities for them to do that. But I want to thank you for coming and just telling a little bit about what you do there on a daily basis in your department, which I think helps to shape our city, and so we salute you and thank you for all the hard work that you have.
Thank you for having us on your program.
Well, thank you. When I return, I'll speak with Bruce Bailiff about code enforcement.
Be a trash buster, and you may earn a cash reward of $250 if your information leads to an arrest. Are you tired of illegal dumps or piles of trash of old appliances, old furniture, construction debris, and other refuse left by roadsides, on vacant lots, and in ravines? Call Trash Busters. 734-1268. You do not have to give your name. Call Trash Busters at 734-1268 and help the city clean up.
It's Dirty Bird. Dirty Bird, don't dump waste into the stream. This is Lenny the lifeguard saying, hop to it, protect our water.
Welcome back to the East Ward Update. I'm Derwin Montgomery, and joining me now is Bruce Bailiff, a code enforcement project supervisor with the Department of Community and Business Development. Bruce, will you just tell us a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yes, sir. I supervise the code enforcement function here in the city of Winston-Salem. Code enforcement is the ordinances that we enforce are concentrating on safety, health, and sanitation. Safety and health and sanitation for the individual as well as the community at large. Those items might be high grass, might be junked or abandoned vehicles, could be trashy lots or curbside violations where people put a large amount of items right at the curbside and it's not during the bulky item pickup. We also do a lot of minimum housing code enforcement. Our enforcement of the minimum housing codes help to prevent dilapidation, disrepair, and blighted areas. And then we enforce some other codes as well, like animal ordinances. We're not animal control, but we look at again, the health and the sanitation for the community at large due to the upkeep of those animals and avoiding the attraction of wildlife that might be attributed to those animals as well.
Right. So as we're beginning to move into the springtime, hopefully spring is here to stay, but there'll be some issues that I know we face, particularly in the East Ward and I think around the city and other areas that citizens and neighborhoods get concerned about, particularly with vacant lots that are not cut. And you have other things that come along with that, such as pests and animals. And oftentimes myself and others get calls about those lots. So what is it that the city can do in that instance? If somebody has vacant lots that become weeded in that sense and are overrun, what happens then?
Well, the first thing is we have inspectors that are out surveying their areas, and we do respond to complaints, as you noted. And anyone that has a complaint or has a concern, if they don't want to contact you, if they'll contact CityLink through 311, that gets the complaint to us and we can go out and take a look at it. Now, once our staff has identified that there's a violation, the general overall process, regardless of the type of ordinance that we enforce, is to determine, one, the violation, and then issue the proper notice to the property owner. Then the property owner is provided an opportunity, a compliance period, if you will, by ordinance, and that sometimes varies according to the ordinance and the type of service that we get on the property owner. And then if the property owner does not correct the situation, then as in a general sense, we have different remedies to correct those situations ourselves. We can talk about it more specifically, such as grass or trash. We would identify the property owner from the tax records, send a notice. The property owner would have a 5-day compliance period and plus a 4-day mailing period. And then if the high grass or the trash has not been corrected by the property owner, then we would send out our environmental crew, which would take care of that, and then the property owner would be billed that cost as it's outlined in the city ordinances, and that the property owner would have to pay that. Now, in something that's a little more complicated, for instance, the minimum housing code,
right,
we would send a notice also to the property owner under those circumstances that there are violations of the minimum housing code, dilapidation, disrepair, health, sanitary conditions that are existing out there. Then we would notify the property owner. The property owner, if it is in an unfit category, would have the opportunity of a hearing and coming and meeting with me as the Housing Conservation Administrator. And then after that, we would typically issue a repair order, and those are around 30 days in length. Now, depending upon the severity of the violations, that we might issue a repair or demolish order if the structure's in really bad shape, or we might issue a repair or vacate and close order.
Well, in that area, in terms of the 30 days period in times of that, when you have like the repair or demolish order that's entered, the time frame of that, because I know people sometimes get a little uneasy or want to see something move a little quicker in that process, particularly if they live right next door to a property that has not been kept up, that has seen itself just go downhill. When they report that, they want to see something happen very swiftly, and oftentimes they don't see what is happening on the other end. They don't see the notices that are going out. They don't always see about the fact that they are going through these processes that we're required to go through, and just don't understand that there's a process in there that we have to go through to be able to get to the point where we actually rectify their issue.
That's true. We go out, and city staff would like to move much faster than in many instances state law and city ordinance allow us to move. But all of that is there for the protection. The ordinances are there for the protection of the community, and the ordinance time periods are there to allow the property owner their rights to repair their own property. And it would always be our wish that the property owner would respond, take care of the problems that have been identified in the time period as prescribed by law.
Right. And I know even when it comes to, we talked a little bit about the weeded lots and issues of violation of the housing code when it comes to how that process works. But also in a lot of areas they see issues with dumping, with individuals that just come in and will dump furniture or other waste or trash in certain areas, and some areas that are notorious for dumping I know have been posted in those areas. But there are some things that we do to help with that. I know there's some programs that are done if you see dumping happening, what you can do and try to help assist that. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, and that's really an excellent point. We like to see folks communicating with us. Whenever you see someone that is illegally dumping, someone that's dumping on the property of another, then what we would like for you to do is first and foremost contact CityLink at 311. If you see something that's in progress, then call 911 and let the dispatchers assess the situation. But I want to stress in progress, because depending upon the police department's load, they might be able to get someone out there and catch that individual. If it's not a situation where you can immediately identify or immediately make contact, but you do have information such as the person's appearance, the vehicle that they're driving, their license number. We also have a Trash Busters program that you can reach through CityLink, and through the Trash Busters program, it operates very similar to the police program, where you can report things anonymously, Crime Stoppers if you will. You can report things anonymously, and if it leads to prosecution, there is a small reward, if you will, that can be advantageous to you. But the key is that we identify the person or persons involved so that we can have the area cleaned up. It will be their responsibility to clean it up, and there may be some criminal follow-up depending upon the evidence that the police establish.
Right. And I think that's very important for the community to understand and know that, because sometimes you see, and I've seen in talking with people, they have some reluctance sometimes to even communicate some of the things that they see. But I think it's very much on both the individuals who own the property, and regardless of if you own it, but if you live in the neighborhood and community, that you need to have a vested interest in what happens in that community. And what the code enforcement, the codes that we have and the inspectors that go out to inspect and try to help us to enforce those codes, sometimes they need the assistance of the neighborhood and people living in that neighborhood, because they may not see everything and others may not see it. And so the eyes and ears of people who live in the neighborhood and community help, I think, city staff, not just in code enforcement, but across the board, to better do their job. And because it's all about that free flow of information on both sides. And I think if we can continue to try to make ourselves comfortable with that, and I think we have some great inspectors that work in the community in the area. The inspector for the East Ward, we have a particular inspector that works directly in the East Ward with certain code enforcement there. Would you talk a little bit about how he does his job and how that works?
Sure. We actually have two inspectors that work in the East Ward. One is Alex Flincham and the other is Arnold Rogers. And they have a task list that they follow every day. And that task list may be a complaint, for instance, that comes in, or they may be proactively working their area, riding their thoroughfares and through the areas where we have identified that we have repeat problems, or where we have chronic situations such as dumping, or where folks collaborative, helping us with the city, see things and report that. And we want to stress that as citizens, you have to take ownership of your area and help us, because we're not always around, as you pointed out. And we do want to make the community better for everyone, individually as well as collectively. But they will work their areas, ride their areas, look at survey for conditions that would need our attention. We answer the complaints, and then they would follow through the procedures that we notified, or I commented earlier about sending notification to the property owners where we identify these problems.
Right, and one thing I do want to stress to the community, to those who are watching, you know, the job that you do and those who work with you in inspections and on that side, you know, it is a job I think that, you know, has great impact on, direct and great impact on neighborhoods and communities, particularly on being able to help them to move past some of the issues that are there that they face, but to understand that once they report certain things, that there is a timeline and process that they work through in order to get it resolved. Now, if that process seems to stall in some places, you know, I always encourage citizens to call and to follow up sometimes just to see where things are. But there's things that are moving often that they don't see. And so I want to thank you, Bruce, for your time and telling us a little bit about what happens there in code enforcement. Is there anything else that you'd like to share or add?
I'd just like to add that our citizens are we need their collaboration with us. We need their communication. Anything that they see, that gives us that many more eyes and ears about what's going on, so that we can help to protect their safety, their health, and their sanitation, and lead to a better quality of life.
Well, thank you, Bruce, for your time and being here with you. I want to thank all of my guests today, Richie Brooks and Bruce Bailiff from the city's Community and Business Development Department. Thank you for joining us, and remember, you can see this show in its entirety on demand on the city's website, www.cityofws.org, or on the city's YouTube page. I'm Derwin L. Montgomery, Council Member of the East Ward. This has been the April edition of the East Ward Update. Thank you for watching.